All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the May 1st Madison County Parks and Recreation Board. First thing, call to order here, and we'll start with roll call.
Nancy Anderson, Tom Bannon,
Present.
Rob Wolfgang,
Here.
Vice President Rachel Christensen,
Here.
President Ben Borka.
Here. All right, today's agenda, we need to approve it and go forward with it. Do we have any comments about it before we approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of today's agenda? Say aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. Agenda is here, and meeting minutes.
Yeah, I do have a change to the meeting minutes, and you guys probably think, well, how can you do that? You weren't at the meeting. And it's because it says that I made the motion to adjourn the meeting. I was not here. So my guess is it looked like, since there was only three, it looked like Rob and Rachel are having to trade back and forth. And Rachel seconded it, so my guess is Rob made the motion. So
I apologize.
that's all right.
No problem. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for, can I do them all at one time?
No,
just this one? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the April 17th regular meeting minutes with the amendment that Tom noted.
You can't vote on that.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes from April 17th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay.
And then the board, you have two memorandums of executive sessions, one for April 17th and one for earlier today, May 1st. Memorandums of executive sessions are done in lieu of minutes. Executive sessions are held for specific reasons permitted by state law. They are an exception to the open door law, and rather than minutes get approved of those, it's simply executive session memorandum, which you have in front of you. They could, if you'd like, to approve them at the same time.
We don't have the memorandums in our packets.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. We'll wait and then we'll approve them at the next meeting. Okay, thank you.
Never said on our list.
No problem. It happens.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty straightforward then. Really just talking about old business here. White River Greenway project update.
I'll follow Attorney Grant's lead here.
Particularly given that we had some issues with that microphone at the last meeting. Good afternoon, board. Just to give you a quick update on the White River Greenway project, we are progressing. Burgess and Nicholas continuing to work on the draft report, the feasibility analysis of the different options that we've previously discussed, and we expect to have some initial drafts of that here in the next few days. Looking again towards a more finalizing version of that in probably mid to late June. We have been proceeding with the review and the interviews for the BOT selection, and progressing with that as intended. Happy to answer any questions you have on that.
I don't. Maybe I do. When we get the materials, will you be emailing that out to us to review?
Yes, we can do that. Okay.
Yeah. We can talk about thriving communities while you're up there.
And the Thriving Communities update, and Rachel, feel free to interject if I missed something. We are moving forward with a steering committee meeting, and it is at the end of May, early June. I forget the date that we have picked, but it's coming in within the next 2 months. That'll be a targeted group of leaders in the South Madison communities, and it's going to be an online discussion to really set the stage for some of the focus groups that'll be coming up through the second workshop, which will be held later this summer. The intent there is to look at how to facilitate the connections between the South Madison communities in a way that can be supportive of each community's objectives and goals and needs, while still meeting the objectives and goals and needs of the county. which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is not an easy undertaking, given the differences in the communities. There's definitely some good momentum there as far as working together and collaboration, and there's a lot of exciting things happening in each of those communities. So we're looking forward to bringing the parts and pieces together.
Yep. And I think a lot of that, it's about capacity building too. So making sure that, our partners have the tools that they need to thrive.
Yeah.
Thriving communities.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and to that same point, the intent there is for the mentoring of our staff and of our partner staff, and to provide tools to us that we can then use in other projects, not just for this particular project. Tools for outreach and engagement and collaboration and so on. So it'll be very good overall for not just South Madison communities, but for Madison County as a whole.
yeah, agreed.
And so far, we have not seen any change in that program given changes in the federal government. So we can all hope that that maintains status quo. Any questions on that? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
Should we skip the next one? Or do you want to have fun? Or what do you want to do?
Jeff, on the next item on the agenda, do we talk about this? Okay.
Might as well, it's on the agenda. Just to say,
That's conflict of interest.
yeah.
Board, you've been sent, or has been provided, at least to my office, a conflict of interest disclosure statement filed by Ms. Christensen, a member of the board, the vice president. That simply doesn't need to be particularly voted on, just acknowledge receipt. And if you'd like to direct our office to send that into the required state agencies, we'll happily do so.
Yeah, we'll follow through with that.
Okay.
Yep, very good. Jessica, do you want to give a action plan update as we've moved through a few things?
Sure. The biggest update on the action plan is at the last meeting, we discussed the concept of potentially pursuing safe roads for all funds for a corridor study for the Fall Creek alignment. That is still under discussion, still on the table. We have not made any decisions moving forward with that. It would be part of a broader safe streets and roads for all application that the county is considering that would include some collaboration with our public safety agencies, our dispatch, our highway department, and probably others as well. We don't have to make a decision at this time. We do have to express a letter of interest, we'll say, by May 9th, but that is simply just saying that we are considering it. It's not, and certifying that we already have a safety plan in place, which we do. It's not a commitment by any means. It's just the first step. So that's due in late June, end of June, so we had a lot of time to work through the details on that. Are there any questions on that?
Are you working on that, or are we working with council governments on that? I can't remember.
No, we're working in-house on that.
In-house on that?
We will get support on that, but it's not with council governments at this time.
Thank you.
But they will be involved because they have a lot of the data that we need, but they're not leading that application.
That's what I just wasn't sure.
And then the only other item that I have is that there is a conflict that I have on the next meeting, and I apologize for not noticing this ahead of time, but the June 6th meeting is, or the 5th or 6th, I forget which day it is. Thank you. June 5th is the state's conference for county engineers, and if I can be at that, I probably should be at that. And so I was going to ask the board to consider shifting that meeting.
I left my phone in the other room, so I don't know what my schedule looks like. What are you proposing us to shift it to? Do you have a suggestion?
I don't have a suggestion. I just didn't know if there was any interest in shifting it, or if we wanted to keep it, and I can just adjust.
Well, if we all need to coordinate schedules to decide what's best, we can certainly do that over email and publicize, but we've moved meetings a week back in the past to the second Thursday of the month, so I guess I don't want to just make a choice here and have three other people that can't come, so.
I'm good with that, whatever.
Figure out.
Do we want to do that right now, just email?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so we'll just figure that out via email, and then we'll announce that new meeting, obviously.
Because I think the second week, I think I'm out of town that week, that I wouldn't be able to, but.
I would not be able to on the 12th.
and we don't necessarily have to meet it, I can call it,
Okay,
so we can adjust it, that's.
okay.
No
Yeah.
problem. We can arrange for that. Very good. Any other board members have anything they want to bring up, discuss, specifics?
No.
No? Okay. I'd be happy to open up for public comment for a few minutes if anybody has any specific thoughts, concerns, ideas, whatever. It's good to see a growing number of people in the room, so we want to keep the discussion going. If anybody does want to say something, I would ask that you come to the microphone, introduce yourself, and state that for the record.
And I would also add that if you did not do it at the last meeting, there's a pad here of paper you can sign up. We're putting together an email list for communication.
My name is Alan Kilburn. I'm part of the White River Watchers, and we do river cleanups along that stretch that you're talking about, so I'm pretty familiar with that. And I would like to ask if you, the next meeting, if you could, at your screen up here, have your proposals so we can, the area you're going to have the trail and the river and everything, so people actually know which areas we're talking about. You're talking about also something over at Pendleton, aren't you?
We have a lot of conceptual things right now. We
Yeah.
are at a point where we have
Alignments or anything?
alignments on paper that are ready to be shown. We expect that to be probably closer to mid to late June before that information will be publicly available.
We do have a park and recreation master plan though, and I believe that's available on the Madison County website that you can look at, and it talks about the process that we went through to talk about these different corridors and connections that we've identified as being important for the county. So that is a good first start to kind of look through that and kind of see what the foundation is for what we're working on.
Yeah. Well, I like to go over to Teewee Park, and it's in a floodplain also. And I think if you bought a large section of land next to the river where you could put a canoe ramp in, plus have your bicycle trails, that would be a good start. I don't know, you're going to get an awful lot of opposition taking this down through 8th Street. I can tell you that right off the bat. And possibly having a large area of land where you could actually have your own enclosed bike trails might be better than what you're trying to do along 8th Street. That's all I have to say. Oh, did I tell you where I lived? 5614 West 8th Street. My name's Alan Kilburn.
Thank you. I'm writing that down so that Leanne can capture it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Shirt, Ball State.
I graduated there about 55 years.
Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to ask a question and follow up to your update. You mentioned the feasibility study. Is that all of the plans that are in the master plan, or is that a subset of them? Can you speak to what the plans are that you're working on?
Sure.
Feasibility?
The feasibility study that we mentioned that Burgess and Nichols working on is along the White River corridor. It's specific to the White River corridor. We are looking at potential funding to do a feasibility study along, or a corridor study along the Fall Creek corridor, which would connect the South Madison communities, but we do not have funding for that at this time.
So it's the bike trail from the 8th Street current Duck Pond area out towards Hamilton County. That when you say white,
That's the conceptual corridor.
right,
Beyond
okay,
that, it
from
hasn't
the
been
master
developed.
plan.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Thank you. Sure.
Oh, I don't know if you said your name and where
I'm sorry,
you.
Leah.
Yeah.
Leah Helvering, and I put my address to 2278.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything they want to share? If not, we can, oh, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
one more.
Hi, I'm Jared Jones. I live at 4846 West 8th Street, so I'm right on the river. Our property abuts the river.
Mhm.
I live in a floodplain. It's flooded maybe 3 or 4 times already this year. So one of my big concerns is, are we thinking about repair of this path down the road? You know, I'm worried that in 5 years, I'm going to be stuck with a washed out path in my backyard. It's going to look horrible. The other thing that I have is that I'm on the merit board for the sheriff's department. And I know that right now we have no openings. You know, all our merit positions are full. For an area this large, we're going to need to hire more law enforcement to patrol that area. So I don't know if that's in the budget, but I think that's something that should be considered too. If we're going to build something like this, we need to hire more officers to make it safe for us that are living out there on the river.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we appreciate those comments. Those are definitely both things that we are very, working on, I guess I'll say. It's hard for us to commit to budgets specifically at this point. We're working on the plans, but both of those elements are absolutely part of our planning process.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the trails and parks around the state are, unfortunately, end up in floodplains because a lot of our water features and a lot of our things that we want to go out and explore tend to flood. So that's definitely, while obviously a concern, other parks have done very good jobs doing flood remediation and being sure that the infrastructure is durable, sustainable long-term, and that there's a plan for maintenance. So yeah, absolutely.
I'm Jessica Carter. I live at 5346 West 8th Street Road. So I'm also on the floodplain. Half of my backyard is gone during that flood. But you guys are going to remove trees. Is that your plan if you do along the river?
We don't have an alignment, a corridor specifically picked out yet, so that we wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Because there's eagles back there along the river, and
Absolutely.
we have coyotes, and we have deer, and there's other wildlife. You do that, you're going to disrupt that.
I could speak to that.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
absolutely. Thank you.
One thing that we haven't really emphasized, but is absolutely critical, is that as we were going through the planning process of the conceptual ideas for the Parks Department, the preservation of natural spaces was by far one of the highest objectives identified by community leaders, by the public, by our elected officials, and that is of utmost importance in many ways. And so I think it's safe to say, I feel very confident saying that the board's intent is not to clear cut trees, that it is to clear cut natural areas. It's to preserve them to the utmost, with the utmost respect. And having been on projects where we were building trails around areas that do have eagles' nests, I was on the Conner Prairie board, and we just did that recently out around the Oxbow area. There's a vast number of rules you have to follow and precautions you have to take, and rightfully so. You want the trails to have the ability to preserve that. You want to be able to have the trails while preserving that wildlife. That is not the intent here. We certainly would not clear cut trees that could potentially have eagles in them for a trail.
And a couple other things to mention. When I was the staff member at Pendleton, I was the staff member for the Urban Forestry Board there, got it reinstated, and we did a tree preservation plan, and I'm a tree geek, so I will be real, and Nancy was for City of Anderson, so you've got 2 tree huggers up here that, if we see any trees that should not be coming down, that we would be an advocate for that. And of course on the wildlife side too, but for me, I'm definitely a tree person that hates seeing trees that should not come down. Actually, Nancy, 2 meetings ago, she came in late because there were some trees by where the Walgreens used to be that she planted 20 years ago that were coming down, and she was in a panic and calling the city about it and saying, you can't cut these trees down, they're in the right of way and all that. So You've got some good advocates up here for trees and
it's not, it's not just the eagles, it's,
right.
It's the deer,
Yes.
it's anything that's back there.
Yes.
I have deer in my backyard frequently.
Yeah.
So, and I hear the coyotes there.
Yes.
So, they're back there, and that's important that we don't disrupt the wildlife.
Yeah. No, we're your people up here, so.
Okay. And, and then like you said, floodplain, I just see you putting cement possibly along the river, it's going to be gone.
Well, and
It's so high back there.
one thing that we haven't talked about yet is that oftentimes recreational areas and naturally preserved areas are intentionally placed along the floodplain, floodway, to preserve that, to allow flooding. And you can do the design to facilitate flooding and to help contain the flooding to possibly free up other areas. So I think that is, it's definitely a concern, but it's also a concern that is a well-known concern and one that the industry has techniques and methodologies for addressing. Now, that is not to say that I believe we're going through the backyards along 8th Street. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying that is a very well-documented and well-known concern in our industry. If you look down in Indianapolis along the White River, for example, there's the parks are all along those areas, and they flood during high rain events because, frankly, you're not going to be out along a trail or along a golf course when it's raining that heavily. So it's a good use of areas that can't necessarily be used for other purposes, and it also can be used to help mitigate some of the flooding. So definitely a known concern and one that we are working to incorporate.
And I think anytime like right now, we're using federal funds to do anything. Like, we don't have a huge park board budget, so currently federal funds are typically, they have protections for environmental stuff too. That is kind of like that extra layer of protection that if we're using federal funds, we have to meet those guidelines. And even for state of Indiana, like we know Indiana bat has their habitats, or it's in spring that we can't, like, most people cannot do any type of construction activities, like you're removing anything because of the Indiana bat. So there are state and federal protections in place. And then, you have, like I said, people up on the park board that are very natural and environmentally conscious people that, would be an advocate for this too. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, if there are no other public comments, we appreciate all of this. This is really helpful. So, if nothing else, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
This time I will go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second again.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And thank you again for
everybody.
coming out.
Yes,
Please,
thank
if you
you.
are interested in adding your name to the email list, please write it down. I appreciate it. Well, definitely put your name on the email list, and we will send out an update, and it will be published in the newspaper. My guess is we'll probably keep